he may be compromised, and he may not even know it. And Trump has already run the gauntlet of Russia collusion, the Stormy Daniels. And if anyone thinks that the Dems and the Chinese aren't going to run DeSantis through that exact same gauntlet, I think is misguided. So the other point on that is China would rather have DeSantis, and that tells me all I need to know.
Now, Bob, I'm just curious. I agree with you on everything. Just the last point. When you say China would rather have DeSantis, why do you say that?
Because they know they can't defeat and compete against Trump.
Oh, in other words, I get it. In other words, you just say, well, DeSantis may be good, but they know Trump is a formidable, committed enemy of communist China, correct?
Absolutely. And they also cannot, with Trump, he's already, as I said, he's been through the gauntlet of false accusations. He with Trump, you know exactly what you're going to get. And Ron DeSantis, I think, is an honorable man. But you know what? So was Trump before the Russian collusion started. And they're going to have something waiting down the pike for DeSantis. And whether or not he's able to survive that or disparage it, that's not a bet I'm willing to take. And we are very short on time as a country.
You read my mind.
This is a winner take all.
Yeah, no, Bob, you read my mind. That's exactly my reasoning. Bob, thank you very much for that call. Really, I think you nailed it. Again, you may disagree with me. I'm just, giving you my opinion. I like DeSantis a lot. I think he's been an outstanding governor. Frank, I think he's one of the best governors this country's in the country right now. To me, it's not his time. It's not his time. Trump, to me, is a proven commodity. He's proven himself. He's ready on day one. On day one. And look, they're going to try to destroy DeSantis. Make no mistake about it. Look, the Horowitz book is a great book, Final Battle. And he says, as a conservative, and I really respect David Horowitz. I've read most of his books. He's a true anti-communist. He's got, you want to talk about a conservative through and through. It's David Horowitz. And he said, there's really only two candidates. It's Trump and DeSantis. And he goes, mark my words. They're going to try to destroy whoever wins the nomination. And I think it's going to be Trump, but we'll see. Trump or DeSantis. He goes, the media, the Democrats, and the rhinos will destroy either of these two men. So, this idea that, Jeff, Trump is toxic and, and the media and what they've done to Trump, give him 2 months with DeSantis. Believe me, they'll turn him into Hitler. He'll be the second coming of Hitler. So at least with Trump, I know he can take the punishment, he can weather the storm, and he's proven himself. So I know with him, he's ready on day one. And Bob, we just don't have the time. Now, again, look, if DeSantis wins the nomination, say Trump is indicted on some bogus charge or whatever, health reasons, or he just loses the primary. I don't think it's going to happen, but I will support DeSantis against Biden anytime, any day, anywhere. But you're saying, why is the Cooner man backing Trump? This is why. To me, he's ready. He's ready now. I have no doubts he's ready now. 617-266-6868 is the number. Bob in Newton. Thanks for holding, Bob, and welcome.
Good morning, Jeff.
Hi, Bob.
Hey, I was a call of the week a couple of months ago, and now I'm back. But this time I'm here to disagree with you really vehemently.
Okay.
About
you know what, Sandy likes that. So this could be your No one's ever won Caller of the Week twice. So, Bob, this could be your ticket to being a two-time winner, my friend. Go ahead.
First of all, we're in this mess in the Ukraine thanks to the Democrats. You had Biden saying a minor incursion would be okay. What a message to send to Putin. You had Obama, who the last time there was a Russian invasion, basically sent food and his best regards. You had Clinton, who promised the U.S. would support Ukraine if it gave up its nuclear weapons. And then you have Biden, who by his slow response is giving them enough to have a stalemate, but not enough to win. And that's the problem. You can't send tanks 6 months from now or 8 months from now. And so that's part of the mess. But more importantly, we're a big enough country to address the border and arm Ukraine and address the spill. We're a big enough country. We have enough resources. Question is, where are the resources going? What's going on in Ohio is deeply troubling because the government has not been doing what it needs to do. It would help if we stopped spending ridiculous amounts of money for things like diversity and equity training for the military and for government workers and put the money where it really is needed. I see a greater threat. What happened in Ohio is tragic, and we have to do something about what's going on there. But it's not a threat to our republic. Whereas something like Biden forgiving all the student loans, that creates this imperial presidency. He's not president, he's king. That's a bigger threat to the core of what this country is. And the last part of it is, if we're not showing resolve in standing by Ukraine, I think China starts to see that. North Korea starts to see that. All of our enemies see that. You win against China by making sure the war doesn't start. Let them see we are powerful. Let them see that we are resolute. Let them see we defend our borders and don't let them fly their balloons over for a week while we're dithering and figuring out what to do. That's the way you deter war with China.
Well, Bob, I have to say, I don't know really where we disagree. I think 99% of what you said, I agree with. I guess you're just saying the disagreement is over Ukraine. Bob, here's what I would ask you, and I'm being really serious. It's now, the tally is $123 billion now at the end of this week. 113, Yellen came in with a $1.25 billion check yesterday, and she said it'll be $10 billion by Sunday. So basically, we're looking at $123 billion. The EU has spent about $10 billion. Now, $123 billion, Bob, I mean, holy shamoly. That's a lot of money. That's literally twice what the Russians spend on their entire military budget. How much more can we arm and help Ukraine? I mean, after a certain point, Bob, don't the two parties have to sit down and have a negotiated settlement? The Russians have been bled. Putin's nose has been punched. He's lost a lot of Russians. The Russian military has gotten mauled in large parts of Ukraine. They've lost quite a bit of territory now that they took. I don't think Putin is going to try an invasion for a long time. I mean, Bob, in other words, this could go on for years and years and years. And ultimately, what's the benefit to us? I mean, we're not running surpluses, Bob. You know better than anybody. We're running trillion-dollar deficits. So after a while, we're going to run out of our own, we're going to run out of money. So how long can we keep arming Ukraine? And then the big fear is, what, God forbid, what if Putin goes nuclear? Is it ultimately worth it? He didn't take the capital. He didn't take 80% of Ukraine. Historic Ukraine is still standing. Now we're talking about the edges of the Russian Empire, the old Russian Empire. Is it worth $120 billion? That's what I'm asking you, Bob.
It's a good question. I think that, first of all, the money should be going to Ukraine as loans, not as outright grants and gifts. Secondly, I take the view of Patton. You punch hard, you end the fight, not the British General Montgomery, who let things string along. Had we sent the tanks earlier, had we let them have the Polish excess MiGs, you might well have ended it. We're trickling the aid in. I know it's a lot of money, but effectively we're trickling it in, and we're creating the stalemate, which just bleeds us dry longer and longer. Trump was strong enough to go to Europe and make them honor their commitments to NATO and up their spending. It would be really wonderful if we had somebody strong enough and compelling enough in this government to go to Europe and remind them that this is their backyard and they need to step up.
Bob, really, I can't disagree with you. I can't. I think Trump would go to Europe and he'd say, we put our $100 billion on the table. Where's your $100 billion? Call me when you have your $100 billion. And I think that would refocus the Europeans. Bob, we'll see what's going to happen. My sense, this war is going to go on for at least another year. Biden gave an interview to David Murr, basically said as much, that his intelligence is telling him it's going to go on for another year or 2 years. A lot of Ukrainians are going to die. A lot of Russians are going to die. And our money's going to keep going. And as you point out...
You don't think he needs F-16s now?
No, he doesn't need F-16s now.
Is that a never?
Look, first of all, the idea that we know exactly what's going to be needed a year, 2, 3 from now, but there is no basis upon which there is a rationale, according to our military now, to provide F-16s.
But you're not ruling it out?
I am ruling it out for now.
For now.
Now, eventually they're going to give him the F-16s. Mark my words. But Bob, a year, 2, 3. So they're getting ready for a long, protracted war, another endless war. And Bob, to me, we need that like we need a hole in the head.
Let the Poles give them the MiGs, which they're already ready to fly. They don't need our F-16s. But again, it's a question of they're dribbling in. They're not letting them win. We're contributing to the length of the war by what we're doing. And this is typical of Biden. He's always too slow to respond. He's dithers and doesn't take action, at least doesn't take action in support of this country.
Bob, as always, very thoughtful call. I really appreciate it, Bob. 617-266-6868 is the number. So you heard it from Bob. He thinks we can clean up the spill, secure the border, and arm Ukraine. And I mean, technically, I think he's right. To me, is it in our interest to keep pouring what's going to be at least a couple more $100 billion? If Biden is talking about another 2-3 year war, we're looking at another $200-300 billion. Is it really in our interest? And ultimately, can we afford it? To me, let them go to the negotiating table, end the killing, end the fighting, end the dying, end the risk of this escalating to a nuclear war, and let's everybody cut their losses. But that's me. 617-266-6868 is the number. Tommy in West Virginia. Thanks for holding, Tommy, and welcome.
Yeah, I'm just listening to this program. That last caller was very articulate.
Very good. Excellent.
It was a good conversation.
Excellent.
I listened to a Michael Savage podcast with a Colonel Douglas Macgregor, who was talking about the situation in Ukraine. And Russia's going to build up 700,000 troops and invade Ukraine, is what their game plan is. And, I mean, part of that 700,000 will be support people. But we're going to send over our Abrams tanks, which are gas guzzlers. And the other thing that I remember about that, it says, can you isolate your opponent? And the answer is no, we cannot isolate Russia. Can you starve it from its resources? No, we can't. And anyway, here we are, like you say, this is really paralleling Vietnam all over again, of where we're being told one thing, but do we really know what is going on over in Ukraine with how many people they've lost? I really don't, I just can't believe the media anymore, and especially with this situation in Palestine, of where they're not covering the after effect on this. And thank God Erin Brockovich showed up there, because she's got some legal credibility, of fighting a governmental system and a corporation with polluting the water. But I don't know, Jeff. We definitely need new leadership in this country, and I have nothing against Mayor Pete being homosexual. I have a problem with him being incompetent. And even Ilhan Omar, of all people, basically called him out that, hey, and I'm no fan of hers at all. I would deport her, to be quite frank, but I don't know what it's going to take in this country, because, like the last caller said, we have a very short amount of time here. And God forbid, if I were China, I would invade Taiwan immediately, because our military is weak. And I just listen to the ads that come on the radio now for advertising for the military of like, isn't this wonderful? You get to work with all different kinds of people. It's like I don't know, maybe an ad for kids going to college or something. I mean, I have a grandson-in-law. His job is to teach people how to drive tanks.
Kim emailed me during the break and said, Jeff, you're wrong. I won Caller of the Week twice. She did. My apologies to you, Kim. You are completely right. I forgot about it. You are the only one so far that has managed to win Caller of the Week twice. 617-266-6868. Jeff in the great state of Ohio. Thanks for holding, Jeff, and welcome.
Well, thank you, Jeff. Thanks for taking my call.
My pleasure.
I live about, I'd say 100 miles east of Palestine, and I'm worried. I'm worried about this spring when I buy tomatoes are grown down on the river. Your first round of good tomatoes. But if you draw a line, they show on TV Palestine where the toxic clouds spread. They don't mention Pittsburgh. If you draw that line just an extra 20 miles, it goes right over Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Now, if that's not newsworthy, I don't know what's going to be. So I see it's going to be covered pretty good here before long. It's going to heat up a little bit. And as far as who's responsible for lighting that fire, we still don't know. And that's like Mike DeWine. It's like, hell, he got elected, and first thing happened, Biden called him that night and thanked him, so we know where he lays. Just wanted to tell you that. So
Jeff,
I appreciate everything you do.
Oh, no, Jeff, thank you very much for the call. Jeff, please, are you still there? Because I want to ask you a question, a follow-up.
Yes.
Okay, good. Jeff, I'm just curious. I know you're about 100 miles away, but what's in terms of the political fallout? I know you're bracing for the spring and, tomatoes and when you garden and the vegetables and the crops.
Right.
But but what's the mood where you are? What are people saying about the EPA, Buttigieg, Biden, the response, Trump having visited? Do they feel like the people of East Palestine and really the people of Ohio have been betrayed and abandoned? Is that the sentiment you're hearing?
I think they've been feeling that way for a long time, and this is just like the nail in the coffin. It just reinforces. It goes all the way back, and I hate to say this, but you talk about the environment. It's like they're going investigating for blowing up the pipeline for Nord Stream. I mean, the writing's on the wall. I hate to say this. Everybody thinks we need to change the government. I think we need to get away from the government. We need to start our own little communities and start from there. Less power to the big government, more power to the person, the working class.
Well, I mean, that's what our founders wanted. I mean, you're just asking for a return to what our Constitution was founded on, those very principles. Limited government, power to the people, power to local governments, state governments, keep it as local as possible. So you're saying that this almost in a sense feels like the final nail in the coffin. Jeff, please stay safe. Take care of yourself, my friend. And thank you so much for that call. I really appreciate it. You know, it's funny. He says it in that folksy manner, but that's where we are headed if we don't put the brakes on this thing. I mean, you know, soon it's going to be F-16 fighter jets, then long-range missiles, and eventually, well, what the hell? Just, guys, you drop a nuke, they drop a nuke, and, you know, millions are dead, and okay, it's over. I mean, it's the insanity of what we're witnessing is unbelievable. 617-266-6868. Jack in Scituate. Thanks for holding, Jack, and welcome.